And good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to In the Vault Season 5. I am Mr. Aranio, joined by a full cast today for our show. We have Ryan Conlon, Joseph Atala, we have Ryan Parmenter, Nathan Thomas, Megan Falvey, and Jack Ilvanowitz. Also, Tony Manousis is here. We're going to start talking NFL. We're going to talk some NBA today. We're going to talk about college football. We have the playoff going on, the championship coming up Monday. So let's start with the NFL. We're going to recap Week 17. Our first topic is going to be the Saturday night game, which was Monday Night Football. The Lions and the Cowboys, a really good game, a really big game. It ended with that whole two-point conversion controversy. So, guys, Ryan Conlon, I'll start with you. Give us your take on the two-point conversion, how that played out at the end of the game.
Well, I mean, you see the ref. I mean, he gets the notion that 70 reported. So they're going to cover 70, 68, goes out in the end zone and catches the pass. He's wide open. So it's definitely on the refs. But I think, I mean, obviously the Cowboys weren't going to cover that guy because he didn't report. But I think they're just I could go on forever about the officiating in the NFL this year. So it's really got to get better.
Yeah, the officiating I think is terrible. I think they have a lot of issues, a lot of problems. Ryan Parmenter, what did you think of the decision to go for two?
I mean, to start off, the decision to go for two is very risky, but, you know, it was a good one and it was a necessary one. But as soon as the penalty was called, why go for two again? Just kick the extra point.
So you were good with it when they're at the 2-yard line, but once they went to the 7-yard line,
yeah, there was no point. Once ineligible receiver is downfield, just kick the extra pointer. Don't risk missing the extra pointer, which is what they did on the third try, and risk losing the game instead going to overtime.
And then Joseph, with the Lions, we talk so much about the Cowboys in the show, but with the Lions, would you say that this performance, despite losing, even though some would argue that they kind of won the game?
They played better. I watched they played better in every way.
Would you, Joseph, say that the Lions showed a lot in this game and they're a legit contender in the NFC, or are they a team that you say, playoff team, division winner, but they're still a little ways away?
I mean, I still think that they're a teeny bit away, but I don't think that they're going to be like a first-round exit or anything. You know, I think they'll get a little soft. I think they might face the Packers first round, but the record, I think, is a little bit inflated. But overall, I still do think that the Lions are going to own the division for a while.
We're going to get to the Packers in a few minutes. So let's shift gears now. You had the Ravens, who defeated the Miami Dolphins by the score of 56-19. I know Ryan is itching to talk about this, but I'm going to save you for last. Yeah. Well, maybe he's not itching to talk about it. Parmenter, we'll start with you. Either team, which team did this game say more about, Baltimore or Miami?
Oh, it said more about Miami. I mean, they've really struggled pretty recently. I mean, their last 6 games are 2-4, and the leaving Bradley Chubb in was a very questionable decision, especially down by so much. He's obviously out for the rest of the season, the playoffs, and is going to be out for the majority of next season too, tearing his ACL. I mean, Dolphins, yes, they have been hit with a lot of injuries, but the best teams are supposed to be able to overcome injuries. But this team just hasn't been able to do that. And plus, once they face a good team, they're going to get smacked. So I mean, there's not much really that Miami could do there.
Joseph, how good are the Ravens? What did you take from this game with them? Obviously, it was a terrific performance against Miami, but what do you take from it with Baltimore?
I mean, I do some playoff predictions here and there. You know, I try and predict the rest of the season. And for a while now, the Ravens have been my Super Bowl contender, and they've been my Super Bowl winner for a very long time. They have not changed. And I think the Ravens are going to be a very good team for a very long time.
So we're going to get to the power rankings in a little bit, so we'll see where the Ravens stack up there. It'd be hard to argue that they're not number one, but we'll get to that in a little while. So, Ryan, give us your take on the Miami Dolphins, where they're at. Do you think they can recover for this?
I don't see them recovering. I mean, you have the game this weekend. This is a very, very, very important game. I think they will end up losing this game, and then they will fall to, I believe, a 6th seed from there, and then they'll have to. I think they would play. Who would they? They would have a tough matchup. Yeah, they have 4 seed. They have a tough matchup. I don't see them recovering from this, especially with the injury to Chubb. The injuries aren't going to stop. Every week there's 4 or 5 guys on the injury report that are like key pieces of the team. Like they had Mostert was out last week, Waddle was out last week. I mean, it just continues to plague them the entire season, and I don't really see them recovering from that one.
And we'll talk more about the Dolphins-Bills game when we do our Week 18 recap. So then let's talk about the Los Angeles Rams, who have been playing very well. They squeaked out a victory against the New York Giants 26-25 on Sunday. The Giants had so many opportunities to win that game. So Conlon, we'll go back to you and start with you on the Rams.
Yeah.
Where are the Rams at now? Did they decrease as a contender in your eyes after this Giants game? To say, you know what, they won the game, they're still very good, and they're
No,
going to
yeah,
be a tough out in the playoffs.
I still view it that way. I know you said we were going to talk about power rankings later, but I have the Rams as my number 10 team in power rankings. I see them being a very tough out in the playoffs. I know he mentioned the Lions before. I think that would be a very good offensive matchup possibly if the Packers don't come in and like spoil that this week with a win over the Bears. But I'm impressed with the Packers or the Rams. They have a very strong offense led by a veteran quarterback, and I think that experience will help them go deep into the playoffs.
You guys, your take on the Rams right now?
I mean, the Rams are a good team, and in all honesty, I don't think this Giants game really affected anything. If anything, it just shows how well the Giants defense has been developing. Because you saw earlier this year, they let up a lot of points, 40 in the first game against Dallas. But then you go against a team like the Los Angeles Rams, who have scored a lot recently and only holding the 26, and you had multiple chances to win but blow out. I mean, it's an okay look for the Rams, but I will say this: it does raise some questions for when they make the playoffs, for the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, playoff-wise, I think with such a strong NFC, I don't think there's really any way they make it out the first round. The Rams, I think they'll have a good little future. They have something going on with the offense. Their defense is, it's serviceable. I mean, overall, the Rams they're making a nice little, way above their bubble win,
And they just won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, so
Yes.
they know how to win. Sean McVay is their
Stafford
coach.
knows how to win.
Stafford's
a very, very good quarterback.
Yeah, so to me it looks like the Rams, they could be a factor in the playoffs and maybe go deep into January and who knows, maybe even February. Pittsburgh Steelers, we've spent a lot of time on them. We've had a lot of criticism for them, talking about their former offensive coordinator and their ups and downs. A lot of debate on the team. They're always an interesting team. So they stay alive with a win at Seattle. Joseph, we'll start with you. Did the Steelers show you something with that win at Seattle? Is it still a team that really is a non-factor? They kind of give the illusion of contention, but they're really not a contender. What would you say about Pittsburgh?
I mean, I think they've given the illusion of contention for a very long time, for the entire time of Mike Tomlin's career. They've given that illusion of being contenders, but they haven't really had that, especially not this year. I think a very weakened Bengals team. I think it's cool. It's a cool win, but I don't think it really proves anything for the Steelers.
Ryan, your take on Pittsburgh?
I mean, it kind of just shows how incompetent of a quarterback that Kenny Pickett is. Because, I mean, you let Mason Rudolph drop 30 back-to-back games. I mean, it's just not a good look for someone that you drafted with the, 20th pick overall last year. It's just not a good look for the Steelers all around. Their defense is starting to get old, especially their secondary. Their offense is young, but they have seriously incompetent quarterback play, and that's really their main issue with that team.
I agree with Matt. I think it was just they always I'm able to mask those seasons with the illusion of contention with winning seasons under Tomlin, but I don't really think they have what it takes on offense, and like Parham said, the defense is starting to waver a little bit. So I think it's really just an illusion of contention for them.
I don't think we're going to learn anything this weekend either, even though they're playing Baltimore. Yeah. Baltimore's going to rest guys.
They already said Tyler Huntley's starting.
Yeah, so and I think the Ravens could still beat them, even with Lamar Jackson not playing.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens are that good. But
yeah,
I don't. Even if the Steelers win and they get some help making the playoffs, I don't think we learn anything from their Week 18 game. So let's talk about the AFC South. It's a 3-team race. I don't think any of the teams are really that good, but where do you see that race right now after Week 17 going into Week 18? So Jaguars, Titans, Colts.
I mean, I think the Jaguars.
Texans?
I think
No Texans?
no.
What did I say? Jaguars, Texans.
Yeah, Jaguars,
Colts.
Texans, Colts. Yeah, I like the Colts personally. I mean, it was a little concerning to see how their defense kind of in those late stages of that game against the Raiders, their defense kind of started to fall apart a little bit, which is a little bit concerning, especially with a rookie quarterback like O'Connell in. But I still think it's the Jaguars division to win. I mean, I know Trevor Lawrence seems to be trending in the right direction to play this week, and I think they're just. I mean, I know you said you had them Super Bowl picks this year.
That's over with.
Still see them as
that's over with.
Clearly the most talented team in this division. So I go with them.
I mean, I think it's really the Texans and the Colts. I think with Trevor Lawrence playing through injury with the 2 weeks really hurt them. And, Texas and Indianapolis have been very surprising, especially with the Colts losing the first-round pick, Anthony Richardson, week 5, and the fact that you can have Gardner Minshew, of all people, come in and, keep this team afloat, keep them in the playoff race. I mean, I've been saying this entire week, this upcoming matchup between Texas and the Colts, whoever wins that game is going to coach of the year, in my opinion.
Joseph, quickly, who do you think's going to win that division after this weekend is over?
I think the Colts are sneaky, and I think that the Colts are going to win the division. Sneaky good.
Yeah, just a quick thought on the AFC South, and then we'll move to the NFC South. I think the AFC South is the ultimate NFL division in today's NFL. The NFL wants parity with their system. They get parity, and I think they get a lot of mediocrity. So I think the AFC South really signifies and exemplifies what the NFL is today. And I think the NFL likes that. They like all these teams in competition. So you don't really get great teams. You can argue maybe Baltimore is, but this division I think is the ultimate NFL division in 2023 now to 2024. NFC South, just quickly, does anyone say the Bucs aren't going to win it?
Yeah, they're not winning it. They had their chance last week. They blew it. They're not winning it this week.
No,
but they're
play
playing
the Panthers.
Carolina,
they play
and they
if they win, they're in.
Well,
and
they're not going to beat the Carolina Panthers.
If they, how it works is if the Bucs lose and the Saints win, I think, and the Saints are playing, I believe, the Falcons.
They're playing the Falcons.
Yeah, and if they win, then the Saints are in.
Well, we can answer this question very simply.
I think
are the Bucs going to beat the Panthers?
Yes.
I mean, obviously, yeah. But
I mean, I mean, it's kind of
it
is kind of a trap situation for a team that has nothing to lose and a team that has the division on the line, especially with a team that, true, but this
they
is
beat
also
the Falcons, but the Falcons
it's a team that
absolute
lost to the Saints in
clown
very
show.
convincing fashion last week. But I do think there's really no question about the Bucs winning this division.
Run through a couple because we got 2 minutes left in the segment. Cardinals over the Eagles. Is there any hope for the Eagles to rebound, or are they shot?
No, I've been saying this entire year. Frauds. They've been frauds. They've played very poorly. The fact that you even have a one-score game with the Cardinals and the Giants is honestly, it's very frightening for the Eagles. It just shows how many holes there are with this team, and shows that Shane Steichen was really, really an important piece of that team last year.
And then very quickly, we're just going to conclude our Week 17 with the Browns and the Jets. You want to talk about the Jets, or you want to talk about Joe Flacco?
Joe Flacco's just him like that.
He's that guy.
There's not much to say about Joe Flacco.
Really, the only thing that's there to say is, I think he should win comeback player of the year. I mean, he was literally on his couch watching football with his family. Then he comes in and wins 3-4 straight. I mean,
he had almost 300 yards in the first half against the Jets.
And
and they didn't do much in the second half. The game was over.
The thing was with the Jets defense, though, they're just they just
quit.
gave up at this
They
point.
quit.
There's no
That-
point.
They gave up 5 weeks ago.
We will talk plenty about the Jets with their season recap, but more so the offseason. But we'll cut it off here with them because they're just.
I have Cleveland as a top 5 team right now, the way they've been playing.
We're going to get into the power rankings next.
Yeah.
That's a good segue. Let's take a minute break. We'll come back, and we're going to discuss the power rankings of the National Football League. back here and in the vault. We're going to continue to talk about the NFL. So now we're going to talk about the power rankings, seeing where these teams stack up. We're going to focus on the top 10. So we'll start off. Anyone disagree that Baltimore's number one?
No.
No.
I don't see anybody who could disagree with that at this point. So we're looking at the NFL.com power rankings. So they have the Ravens 1. I think everybody does. NFL.com has the 49ers at number 2. Does anyone disagree with that?
No.
So then you say
Oh no, yeah, that's fine.
okay. And then number 3, they had the Dallas Cowboys.
Over the Dolphins, who beat them. But I do agree with that, actually. I do think the Cowboys
Ryan.
should be ranked higher than the Dolphins.
Yeah, I think that should be obvious. I mean, the fact they just lost 56 to 19
Yeah,
is
but
kind of
I mean,
evident.
there's a giant gap between the 1 and 14.
And the Dolphins won that game 22-20 in
Yeah.
Miami.
Yeah.
So let me read the top 10, and then you guys will have at it. Ravens, Niners, Cowboys. Dolphins are 4. Lions 5. Bills 6. Browns 7. Chiefs 8. Eagles 9. Rams 10. You said Rams 10, so you agree
Yeah,
with that.
I agree with that, yeah.
What stands out to you as something that you really disagree
I mean,
with on this
I
list?
think the Bills should be in the Dolphins spot, personally.
I think they should be either 3 or 4, like you said, because
I think the Bills, I mean, they beat the Cowboys in very convincing fashion.
they beat the Dolphins in very convincing fashion.
Yeah, so why can't they be 3? That's my question.
Is
it
it
just because they're on the outside of the playoffs right now? If they don't beat the Dolphins this week?
Is it because Miami's leading the division, even though with a loss this week they may actually miss the playoffs?
Yeah, they actually will miss the playoffs
If they lose,
Yeah. Oh, they could either win the division or miss the playoffs. Imagine that.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing with the Bills.
Yeah.
I mean, this list is
So the Dolphins clinched the playoffs.
No, I meant the Bills. No,
Oh,
I meant the
yeah,
Bills.
we meant
If
the
they
Bills.
lose, they don't make the playoffs. They win the
Right,
division.
right, okay.
I mean, this list is fine. I mean,
I like the Rams at
The-
10.
the
I
only-
think the Eagles. I actually
Should
think
be
Rams and
9.
Eagles could
I think-
switch theoretically.
I think the
the-
Rams could be above the
yeah.
Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are done.
Yeah, I think the Brown-
Lions and
I like
Bills
where
could
the-
be switched.
I like where the Browns are.
The
I like
Browns
at
should-
7.
should
Yeah, I mean
be
maybe
5.
6, maybe.
Maybe
If you
6.
move the Bills, you have to move the Browns. But I do
100%.
agree with moving the Bills.
I
Who's
think-
better, the Bills or the Lions?
Oh, the Bills.
Bills.
It's the Bills. I mean,
The Lions. Yeah, I mean,
I think the Lions should be ahead of the Dolphins.
yeah, they are better.
If
but-
anything, Miami should be outside the top 5. I don't think Miami should be in the top 5. I think it should be Ravens, 49ers, Bills, Lions, Cowboys for top 5. Sorry,
I mean,
not-
I
not
think you
Cowboy-
could flip
not-
Browns
not
and
Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Not Cowboys.
Yeah.
I meant Browns. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because this defense is the Browns' defense has really been injured, but they've managed to step up, especially with Joe Flacco coming out of nowhere. I mean, really, who expected
How far
that?
could you go with 38-year-old Joe Flacco? Like how? They
Yeah,
played the
yeah.
Jets. They
It's-
played a Jet
yeah.
team that is quit.
But I mean,
It's a fun story, though.
yeah. It's a
like,
great
It's
story.
a fun
It
story.
with
is
that
a-
monster defense,
it's a
they could go
terrific
pretty
story,
far.
but how far is this thing going?
Plus, the NFL script is writing its way to Joe Flacco versus the Ravens in the AFC Championship. So I don't know.
So who do you think's better, Lions or Browns?
The Browns.
Browns.
Yeah. Okay. So I would have Ravens, Niners, Bills, Browns.
But the Lions have.
But the Lions also scored
mean, they're
3 points against the Ravens, and the Browns
Yeah.
beat
I mean,
the Ravens.
The Lions should have won. And
yeah,
look,
but I mean that was Watson was. That's a different scenario. Watson was at quarterback. Now Flacco's at quarterback.
$235
Yeah.
million for nothing.
Yeah.
to me, the Lions pretty much won the game in Dallas. Like that. Even
No,
though I
I
don't think
agree.
Dallas is
They
ever
played
for
much
real.
better. You had CeeDee Lamb. You had Derek Barnes completely run by Dak Prescott, and then he threw a 92-yard touchdown. That would have been the difference in the
I would
game
go
right
the
there.
Lions over the Browns.
That
but
would
I
have been a
think it's
safety.
close.
That would have been a safety, and then given the Lions the game.
Are there any teams that
I-
aren't in the top 10 in this top 10 list that you think should be in the top 10 list?
Houston,
Uh,
Colts.
Who are they better?
No,
than?
I think it's fine, but I think the order is
In
a
all
little
reality,
weird.
I think the Colts and Texans are better than the Eagles. I think they're better than the Chiefs.
I think the Eagles are. I think the Eagles would beat the Colts, but I think the Colts are a little bit shaky personally.
But so are the
That's
Eagles.
just they definitely are, which is why I would move them below the Rams. But
I think you
I
still
think
have
I
to
like
put
the
those
teams. I like the
teams-
team. The 10 teams are the top 10 teams. The order is just wrong.
Yeah, I mean, because the Chiefs still have Patrick Mahomes.
I mean,
I know they're really struggling. They look.
I mean,
look
they played.
cooked.
I was happy with how they played against the Bengals. I mean, I know they were actually losing that game 17-14 in like the second half, but like that was one of their better
They
games. that
lost to the Raiders
yeah,
at home.
Yeah, it's definitely a different Chiefs team that we've seen, but they're still. I mean, with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, I don't want to sound like Chris Collinsworth, but you can't take them out of the top 10.
I mean, it really just shows how much, Juju Smith-Schuster was to that team last year. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster is a wide receiver 3 at best. And, you look at the difference between this year's team and last year's team. I mean, it is miles different. You had Kadarius Toney going in to the season. Wide receiver 1 has, 3 drops in the first game. Gets, should be demoted to the bench, but somehow is still starting.
So then, do you consider the Ravens to be a great team? Are they?
They're great, but I
Is
do
there
not
is
think
there
they're
an
going to win the
elite, is
Super
there an
Bowl.
elite team? I think elite's a better word.
Not really.
Is there an elite team in the NFL this year?
Not really.
I mean-
Because, the Ravens, they've played a tough schedule, but they haven't exactly played the best opponents, especially since
No.
their better teams they've played have
And the
really
one thing
struggled
that
this
the
year.
one thing with the Ravens this year was that the injuries haven't really plagued them as much. Like you saw what happened with them, their late season collapse, that their famous late season collapse hasn't really happened this year. But the only notable injury they've had, I think, is like Keaton Mitchell. So I think they really,
also,
like
J.K. Dobbins
yeah,
and
yeah,
J.K. Dobbins.
yeah, that was at like relatively towards the beginning, right?
But
Yeah.
in all reality, I can realistically see this Ravens team collapsing at one
I
point.
don't see them winning the Super Bowl personally. I never had them at the Super Bowl. I mean they have impressed me significantly, but I don't think I could definitely I agree with him. I
mean,
could see
this
them
is
collapsing.
kind of a team that can go to the Super Bowl and just either have a close game and win, have a close game and lose,
or get
or
blown
or
out.
blown
yeah.
out. I mean,
Or they could blow someone out like they did.
Joseph, if you had what you're going to do now, you have to make a top category of these teams. Do you put the Ravens in a category of their own? Do you put the Ravens and Niners in a category of their own together? Do you include anybody else in that top category? So how would you separate these teams? How many teams would you put in the top category of the power rankings?
I mean, it's kind of tough because I think the Niners and the Ravens, they both have their issues, and they're kind of peeking their head, but they're not very apparent unless you're really looking into it. I think if you'd have to put them into a tier, it'd be the Ravens and the Niners have to be in the same tier. There's not one that are better than the other.
I agree with him. I mean, you could argue that you could sneak the Bills in there, but I think the Ravens and Niners are a tier of their own.
I mean, I agree with you. And the Bills' early season maybe, especially if injuries did not happen, because their secondary.
That's what I was saying.
Their
'cause
secondary is beat up, and the fact that they can even contend this much with that injured of a secondary is astonishing to me. Also, the fact that they really have no wide receiver too, because Gabe Davis.
he either has like 200 yards or 0 targets. That's really a game for him.
That's all he
Yeah.
does. I mean,
Yeah. He either has like AFC playoffs last year or like a 0 target.
Yeah.
So I agree with you guys.
then
Go ahead.
I was about to just tack on his Bills point, but like you've had Diggs like haven't had a 100-yard receiving game in like 6 or 7 weeks.
If anything, it's really just been Allen and Cook doing
which
everything.
just shows how valuable Allen is to this team.
So we're unanimous. I agree. Ravens and Niners in the top category. The teams 3 through 10, would you have them? We'll start Parmenter. Would you have them all in the same category, bunched up together, or would you separate these teams into multiple categories?
There's a lot of teams I could separate into different categories. For example, like you don't. I'm not gonna put the Bills or the Cowboys in the same team, the same category, because I mean,
Especially when one blew out the other.
yeah, I mean, and then I guess I could put the Bills and the Lions in the same tier, but I think the Bills are slightly better because I think they have a slightly better secondary, even though Bills' secondary is very injured right now. I just don't think
The Lions secondary is very young, and they've also gotten key injuries, and they've had to like fill in with guys. So
are the Bills in their own category?
Yeah, I think they're elite. I think Ravens and Niners are just super elite, and then you have Bills are just in that own elite category. And you could throw in the Lions in there if you really want to.
But I have seen some glaring issues with the Lions. I mean,
yeah, that's why I'm saying.
Since week 11, I believe Jared Goff has 8 turnovers. I mean, that's not ideal.
And if you look at Jared Goff's, like, if you look really deep into the stats, I know it's not like stats aren't everything, but Jared Goff on the road, especially, I know he plays in a lot. He plays in the dome at home, and like his only road game this year that I've really seen him play well was, I mean, obviously that week 1 game against the Chiefs, and then you had that Saints game, which is also in a dome. So I mean, you saw him collapse against the Bears. What was that, 2-3 weeks ago? That could possibly, I know weather is an issue, but just for like maybe his mindset, like that could be an issue going forward for the
Miami
Lions.
has the same problem because they
Yeah,
play in warm
yeah.
weather.
Okay, you said it yourself earlier in the season. Let's not bring the weather
Yeah.
into this. I mean,
No, but it's just for golf, like,
Yeah.
because golf is
he's
like
play-
so glaring.
Well, it's not
and-
as an excuse. It's
yeah.
Miami plays in warm
Yeah.
weather,
Well,
and then they
could-
go to cold weather.
like golf plays in a dome, and he has to go
Yeah.
outside and play in Chicago.
Hasn't golf played in a dome almost his entire
Yeah,
career?
yeah. And
I
then he
mean,
played in California.
He played in
so-
California.
Well, it's a
yeah.
problem.
He played
Yeah.
in St. Louis for a year and then
Yeah.
moved to California with
Yeah.
a dome. So, I mean,
I think it's a problem for both those teams.
Yeah.
Lions in the dome,
Yeah.
Miami in the warm weather.
If any-
there's an issue there.
if
Yeah.
anything, it's the cold team. It's the cold weather teams are always better because
Yeah.
they're well adjusted to the snow. For example, a team like the Bengals, they've
Like
always
the Bills.
the
aren't
Bills
they?
and the
Yeah.
Bengals. They've
Yeah.
statistically done good in both the cold and the warm weather. So I mean,
The two teams with the most Super Bowls ever play in cold weather climates, Pittsburgh and New England.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I think it has some factors.
mean-
But then you can say the Niners and the
I mean, do we see the Eagles going farther into the playoffs than,
no, I think
than the
they're
first round?
I think they're first round
Yeah.
exit. In all
Yeah.
honesty, because I mean, this defense has struggled. This offense has also struggled. I mean, especially them running a lot of their plays at a shotgun. It doesn't really allow them to run effectively
Especially because
because they call inside zone 53% of the time, which is
yeah.
which is next to zero explosive plays. So I mean, no explosive plays is not good, especially since you can't get downfield that much.
Especially when they have that many explosive like weapons. Like, I mean, Swift could go the distance at any moment. A.J. Brown could go the distance at any moment.
Devontae
and
Smith.
Yeah, like there's something about Shane. I agree with what you said earlier with Shane Steichen, because that has clearly like reared its head a lot this
And you
year.
also have Matt Patricia
Yeah.
calling defensive plays. I mean, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So quickly, because we got 2 minutes left here. Let's say we have the Bills and the Lions in the same category. The other teams, do you put them in one category together, or are we separating them?
So you got to separate the Browns
Yeah,
from
I think it should
Chiefs
be.
and Eagles.
They're pretty similar.
I'd say you could put them in a category together, and then
Chiefs,
I guess
Eagles, and
group the
Rams.
Rams in there. But I think the Rams are better than the Eagles and possibly better than the Chiefs. So you could put them in there, but the Browns are definitely above that, so you could put them in their own tier.
In all reality, I can see maybe even see the Browns being the same tier with the Bills, but I can
Yeah,
more
I don't want to get
I-
carried away
I
a
can
little
more
bit.
realistically see them in the same
Yeah.
tier as the not Broncos, sorry, Cowboys and Dolphins.
Oh yeah, we glazed over them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, the Chiefs and Eagles, I agree with you. I mean,
Yeah.
those two
They're
teams.
very
But
similar.
it's just so tough to just count, particularly
You
Chiefs
can't
and
count-
Mahomes, but you
yeah.
can't just totally
The
count
Eagles.
these teams out. And then
they
I'm
sh-
like, I know the Browns have been playing really well, but maybe it's
It's
not fair to
Flacco
them.
still,
But they're
yeah.
still the Browns. It's Joe Flacco in there, great story. But
I mean, you had.
do you really think the Browns have a better chance of
I mean,
winning the Super Bowl than the Chiefs or Eagles?
No.
Or you can say like all three have no chance or very little chance. But
I agree
could you
with
say the
that.
Browns have a better chance than those teams? I don't
No.
think so.
I
No.
think
So
the
then,
Brown-
how are the Browns in a higher category than those two teams?
Oh,
Yeah.
I think the Browns have a better chance of winning the Super Bowl than the Eagles, especially right now, but definitely not the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs' defense is the best it's been in Mahomes' career, but problem is his receivers' hands are literally lined with butter. So, I mean, it's hard for you to go anywhere when you have your receiver, when you throw the ball at your receiver straight their chest and they just drop it. I mean, not much you can really do there.
I mean, you look at the injuries that this team's gone through. I mean, you lose a top 5 running back. What was that? Week 2? I mean,
Week 2 or 3?
Yeah, it was week 2 against the Steelers. You lose Chubb. I don't think people counted how serious. I mean, that was a huge injury.
All right, so that's the power rankings. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about the playoff scenarios for the teams that are either clinched the playoff, clinched division, clinched home field, and the teams that haven't clinched yet, and what they have to do to get into the playoffs or even possibly win their division. So we'll be back in a moment to talk about the playoff scenarios in the NFL. and welcome back to In the Vault Season 5. We're talking about the National Football League as we go into the final week of the regular season, Week 18. So right now, we're going to go through the playoff scenarios. First, we're going to start with Ravens and Niners. We've talked about both of those teams. We were talking about them, the power rankings. They both have clinched a bye and home field advantage in their respective conferences. The Ravens in the AFC, the Niners in the NFC. We're going to move on from there. Cowboys and Eagles, they're battling for the NFC East. So quickly, guys, we have the Cowboys playing at
Commanders.
Washington, and you have the Eagles playing at
New York.
the New York Giants. So does anyone think
The Cowboys.
does anyone think the Cowboys are going to lose?
I mean, the way the
No.
Eagles have been playing, they could lose.
Please
I
don't-
mean,
please
yeah.
don't lose-
Oh, the
please don't
Eagles
lose
will
to
lose to the
Giants. Please don't lose to
yeah.
the Giants. Please don't lose
Does
to
anyone
the
think the
Giants.
Cowboys are going to lose in Washington?
No.
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 I mean, especially
I
with
mean,
Jacoby
Washington's
Brissett
defense
Brissett
is
playing.
historically
I was
bad.
going Brisket. My
Like
bad.
Washington's defense, I don't even know what to say.
How
So the
about-
Cowboys
they're
are going to
awful.
win the NFC East.
Yeah.
I really prefer to view it as the Eagles gave it away.
Yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
give the Cowboys too much
I
credit.
agree.
The Lions have clinched the NFC North. You have a three-team race in the NFC South, which we talked about before. Everybody was unanimous. I think the Bucs, they control their own destiny. They're going to win. So then the AFC South, what did you guys say again?
I said Jaguars.
You said
Yeah.
Jaguars.
I mean, the Jags are probably going to win the division, but all the Colts and the Texans have to do to get in the playoffs, especially if we'll get to this later, but especially if the Bills lose. I mean, if they just tie, they both make the playoffs and the Bills miss out.
I don't think the Bills.
so the Colts and the Texans are playing one another.
If they
Jaguars are playing the Titans.
if both the Texans and the Colts tie while the Bills lose, both the Colts and the Texans go to the playoffs.
Yeah, forget about ties. If that happens, then I did see that though with the ties. You read the scenarios. I was like, if this tie happens, I was like, oh my god, this is too much. But I think the Jaguars could lose to the Titans.
I mean, the
The
Jaguars have been
Titans look
struggling.
really
Yeah, but the
bad.
question
Didn't
is
Will
if-
Levis even? I mean,
think
he's
that's been
hurt.
he's
Is he-
questionable.
Yeah, I mean, you had Trevor Lawrence possibly coming back this week, but I know it was against the Panthers, but C.J. Beathard didn't look terrible. I mean, the Panthers have kind of a stingy pass defense too, so I give him some credit there.
Well, I would say the Bucks are much more of a favorite to win their
Yeah,
division. The
easily,
Jaguars. I think
easily.
the Jaguars are the favorite.
Easily.
But the Bucks I look at as a lock. They're not
Yeah.
going to lose to Carolina.
I agree.
And the Chiefs, they won the AFC West. I
Every
think it's
year.
by
Every
default.
year.
I mean, the Raiders, I know they came on, but they're not a good team, even though they beat the Chiefs, which says something. The Chargers are a mess. And
Me-
then you have the
I
Broncos that
think
were
mess
up and
is an
down all
understatement.
year.
Yeah.
Really,
and
you
kind
know,
of fell apart
Yeah,
after
and
that Lions game.
not a good team. So
Yeah.
it's a bad division. We've talked about the Chiefs. So would you say they're still Super Bowl contenders?
Who, the Chiefs?
Yeah. I mean,
No. I
No.
think at best they're second round exit.
End of an era.
Yeah, I don't think.
End of an. What are we doing?
Oh,
no,
my bad.
not end of an era. No.
that's a whole nother.
As long as Patrick Mahomes
I mean, I
is in
agree with
Kansas
end
City,
of
they're
an
gonna-
era.
They're going to be.
It's not end
They're
of
gonna
it.
be there, but they're not gonna have
That makes me
end
think
of,
that
end of their like Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Era.
end
There you
of
go.
the.
That's a better
yeah.
word.
Especially with Travis Kelce being 35.
Well, they've
I mean,
won
who
two.
knows what
They've
happened
been
if Brock Purdy stayed healthy last year?
they've been to 3 of the last 4. They've won 2. So they're kind of like it's one Super Bowl less, but they're kind of like the Patriots were in the first part of their dynasty. Remember, the Patriots went 10 years without winning a Super Bowl. They won 01, 03, 04, and then it went until 14 without winning one. They made it in 07 and 11, but they had a 10-year drought in terms of winning Super Bowls. So, you know, they came back. They won 3 more. They won 3 out of 5 in the second part of the dynasty. So to say that the Chiefs are done,
No,
I
they're not done.
totally disagree
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a
Matt.
down year. But, you know, I'm not willing to
I
say
get what you mean, though. I get what you mean.
I'm
It's
not
just
willing to say they're not Super
Yeah.
Bowl contenders. I can't count on a team that has Patrick Mahomes
Yeah,
as a quarterback.
I agree.
You just never know.
Yeah.
It looks bleak,
Looking at Mahomes.
Especially Andy Reid, too.
and Andy
mean,
Reid is a
in
coach. I
Michigan.
mean, he's one of the best
Yep.
of all time. So then let's look at the wild card picture. We'll start with the NFC. So where are we at right now, and then what do you expect to materialize in Week 18 in terms of the NFC wild card?
I don't see anything really changing here. In all honesty, I
So
think,
the Eagles are the 5. They're going to remain the 5.
yeah, I think they're going to remain at 5, especially with Dallas playing a team like the Commanders. I don't think there's any
Yeah.
chance that
Yeah.
they will lose there.
Especially when they played, on Thanksgiving, and it was 45-10.
Packers,
My glorious Packers.
they
Oh,
control
my.
their own destiny
Oh yeah,
at Chicago.
at Chicago.
Then that would
But
that
then
would also affect the Lions,
then-
too, who
then
would go
again,
into
though-
facing the Packers instead of the Rams.
Then again, ooh,
And the Packers
Bears.
beat the
I
Lions.
actually,
Go
I'd
Bears.
ra-
in
if I'm a
Detroit.
Lions,
Go Bears.
if I'm a Lions fan, I'd rather play the Rams than Packers. Even though I'm high on the Rams, I feel like the Packers are a
agree.
very dangerous team.
Packers went into
Yeah.
Detroit on Thanksgiving and won.
Yeah.
And won
I wanna-
convincingly.
I
Because
want
the Rams,
Give
like,
Jordan Love his
their
jersey.
defense is more exposable. Like,
I-
even though they have a very strong offense.
I want to see that Matthew Stafford.
I would love that. Yeah.
storyline.
Yeah. I mean, that's gonna be a shootout of a game. Rams Lions, if that comes to fruition.
So do you guys all think the Packers are going to win and
Yeah.
get in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Rams going to be there and the Eagles going to be there.
Yeah.
So let's shift to the AFC wildcard picture. What do you expect to materialize there?
I expect the Bills and the Dolphins to switch places. I don't think the Dolphins are winning.
think the
even
Bills are gonna
even
win.
if they're in Miami or not. I don't
Yeah.
think.
I mean, they're
Miami's
gonna have
winning
to
this
score.
game.
They're gonna have to score more than 19 points to win. So,
They got to allow less
Yeah.
than 48
Yeah.
too. So
and I mean, even against the Cowboys at home, they only scored 22. I don't think that's gonna be enough.
So the Browns are in. You guys think the Bills are going to be the division winner, the Dolphins will be a wild card. Who's getting that 7 seed? Do you think the Steelers are going to sneak in?
no,
I
absolutely
not
not.
gonna get the
It's
help.
the
Absolutely not.
Steelers. It's a s
I
if,
would hate
if it would be a Steelers moment to get in.
So if the
do that.
Jaguars are the
Yeah.
division, it would be the winner of
Colts Texans.
Colts and Texans.
I mean, as an NFL fan, I'd rather see the Texans with like the young and D'Amico Ryans, who's probably the leading coach of the year contender. But I do think the Colts, if they played, I think the Colts would probably sneak it out.
Game is
but,
in Indianapolis.
Yeah, but
oh, the
I
Colts are winning that.
but I would rather see the Texans in the playoffs.
I would say excitement value.
Just
excitement
for like
value,
just
I would
excitement
say
value, yeah.
Houston.
I would
Yeah.
rather
Although I like
Colts.
Minshew's story.
Minshew Mania.
You know
baby.
how he played against
Yeah.
Dallas last year with the
Yeah.
Eagles. So, the AFC East, Buffalo at Miami. You guys are saying
Buffalo's winning.
that you think Buffalo's going to win. I tell you,
It's gonna be
as
a blowout.
critical as I have been of the Miami Dolphins, and
You
I will
think they're
continue
gonna
to be,
win?
but anytime, not every time, but plenty of times when there's a consensus and people think something's going to happen,
The opposite always happens.
particularly in the NFL, the opposite happens. So it
That's what I
doesn't
was
come
saying.
true.
Yeah.
So all the logic says that Buffalo's going to go into Miami. Miami has injuries. They got blown out last week. Buffalo has been playing really well. Buffalo's going to win that game. I caution you. Buffalo did not play that well against New England
they
in
were
Buffalo.
losing.
They struggled in that game. So Buffalo has had their struggles this season. Recently, they've been really good, but then they go play against
Traveling.
they
on the
play
road.
against New England,
Yeah.
who is not a good team. I know they play a little bit better lately, but they're a bad team. They struggle with New England at home. This is just a feeling. It's a feeling, and like I
I would
can't
love it
get
to happen,
myself to
but-
say it because logic dictates the opposite. But I'm going to say it on live stream here. The Miami Dolphins are going to get it done at home.
Don't
and
tell
they're going
Riley.
to win the division. I don't think they're going to
go.
do anything in the playoffs. They might be bouncing the wild card round at home. But I think they're going to pull this thing off on Sunday night.
Don't tell Riley. He's not gonna.
As
like
much
that.
as I want them to win, I
Riley.
just can't.
If you're listening, come on up here and tell us what you think. I don't have any
As
logic
mu-
behind
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
Just,
I mean,
they're home.
It's pure dumb chance. I mean,
They're
Well-
home, and I'll give McDaniel credit. He's an offensive.
it's not
Wizard,
it's not
I
dumb
guess.
chance because they're a very talented team. It's just they're not. The Bills are like everything you listed. The Bills, they're hot. The Dolphins with the injuries. Everything says they shouldn't, but I guess like that's your whole point that
well, because
But
everything's
also,
against
I,
it.
I think it's being overlooked that Buffalo
Struggled.
didn't
Yeah,
play
yeah.
well last week. Like Buffalo is this team where, and they're great against the Cowboys. That the Eagles they lost to, but they played that overtime game.
Allen played great.
What were
that
some of the other games they
Uh,
won recently where they played really well? They won big, won
game.
convincingly.
The Cowboys.
Chiefs.
Cowboys.
They go in and beat the Chiefs of Kansas City.
Oh, on the road.
Yeah, the
They beat
Cowboys
the Cowboys.
win was
Yeah.
big, but last week I think they
It wasn't.
they showed their inconsistency, and I got a feeling that now,
Well,
and you can easily refute what I'm saying, but I think now it's like, you know what? They showed the cracks. They showed the inconsistency. They're going to Miami. I know they beat them by 4 touchdowns early in the year, but again,
well, I mean, also
logic does not always come true in these scenarios, and I think Miami's going to get it done at home.
I don't want to make an excuse for that loss, but also for that game they had a rookie corner covering Stephon Diggs who had 3 touchdowns when Ramsey was out, and I think that would have made a big difference. And this game Ramsey's already going to be covering Diggs, so that could make a difference
well, I mean,
in this one.
Well, the Bills are not 4 touchdowns better than them.
No,
Just like
No.
the Ravens aren't
it
37
was
points
42.
better
It
than
was
Miami.
42 to 24.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about that.
I don't think as many people pick on Miami, but again,
I'm not
just think about when there's a consensus and people, and I could easily go along with the consensus too. So, yeah, Miami Buffalo's going to go in there and take care of them. They're probably going to win by double digits, but no,
If they win,
I think in this particular game, in this particular stage, and Buffalo has come up short before.
Yeah.
They have come up short the last few years in big games, including this year. I just think it's going to happen again Sunday night. And if Buffalo,
I could see it being something like 20-17 or something like that. Like maybe even like a little higher than that. But like I don't think it's gonna be really that high. Even though it's like there's explosive offenses, I don't think it'll be that high scoring.
I mean,
just like with what you saw in the Cowboys.
The thing is,
I think it'll be
though,
kind of identical to that game in a lot of ways.
the thing is with the Dolphins though, it's especially with Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. I mean, how are they gonna get pressure to the quarterback?
yeah, but again, you're
I mean-
talking logic, which is important.
I mean, they just have to stop
it
the.
doesn't
if they can
always come true.
yeah.
What's on paper or what seems obvious
It's just football.
doesn't always come
the
true.
game.
That's why it's exciting. That's why it's entertaining.
That's why
we
people
watch.
Yeah.
You could break it all down. It's like, of course Buffalo's going to win. But no, Buffalo has shown cracks. They've shown it throughout the season. I mean, go back to, I know it's
But so is
September, but go
Miami.
back to opening night. Them
Well, everyone
losing
knows
that game
Mi-
against the
everyone knows
Jets
that
who lost
Miami. That's why.
Rodgers.
That's why the Bills are favorite. Everyone knows that Miami's shown cracks against good teams.
And I think we got to be fair, and then we're going to move forward to going through these Week 18 games. I think we got to be fair about the DNA of these teams. Again, I've been really critical about Miami all year. I acknowledge they're talented, they're a good team, but there's something in their DNA. But there's something in Buffalo's DNA too. Like I don't think Buffalo's this juggernaut team. It's like, oh, look at what they've done. They lost big games. They haven't gotten to the promised land. People are saying their window has been closing. I don't think
I think
it's
it
closed.
opened back up.
It's
after a
opened
little.
back up, but I think
I-
it could easily shut
I-
this
I-
weekend.
I
It
think-
could, yeah.
I think it's barely open to the fact that even a small gust of wind could close that door. I don't think. I think the window's barely open, but I mean, I don't think that there's much of a chance that they win anything this year.
So let's go and transition to talking about the Week 18 games. Okay, I put in the show notes, we are not talking about Jets-Patriots. We can talk about the Jets and
Jets
their
would love to win.
season recap and all season. That's
Go
going to be
Patriots.
next week and going forward. Belichick situation, we're going to get to that, but not today.
Go Patriots.
All right, so go Pats. I think the Pats are going to win, but anyway, no Jets-Patriots. And it could be heavy snow
I
in New
think
England,
Jet-
so that I hope it is. I hope
I
it's
think the
heavy
Jets-
snow.
Game?
It's just that would make it very interesting. A terrible game would make it interesting if it's heavy snow. But Saturday at 2 games. As Jacob is down there practicing, we're going to talk about his Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers going into Baltimore. Baltimore going to rest guys. Just quickly, each just gives us a run through them. Each of you guys, let's say 10 seconds or less, 15 seconds or less. Who do you got winning and why?
I got the Ravens still winning. They're just a more talented team, regardless of who's starting quarterback. You saw Tyler Huntley go right down the field on the Dolphins with all their starters still in the game and score a touchdown right away.
Jacob's looking up here.
I'm saying it. I'm going with the Ravens.
I got the Ravens.
Yeah.
They're going to win.
Yeah.
They're better.
Steelers. I
They'll
mean,
win.
I mean, even if the Ravens are sitting guys out, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
The Steelers are just they're atrocious.
And you know the Ravens want to knock them out.
Oh yeah.
100%. I mean,
after that loss early in the season.
there's a reason why Tyler Huntley's a Pro Bowl quarterback last year.
Okay, we agree Ravens.
Yeah.
Texans, Colts, we talked about it. Colts at home. I like the Colts at home.
I like the Colts
I
too.
think the Colts are
like
going to
the
win, in
Colts
all
too.
honesty.
Yeah.
I-
Even as much as I would love to see C.J. Stroud in the playoffs and that whole story, I like Gardner. I like the way Gardner Minshew's come in and kind of saved this season. So I'm gonna go with them, especially at home.
I mean, Tank Dell fracturing his tibia, right? I mean, that
Fibula.
that really hurt the Texans. I mean, because you do not really have anything else besides him and Nico Collins, and Nico Collins being out last week really hurt the Texans.
Devin Singletary.
Oh,
Damian Pierce.
So he lost his job.
Devin.
yeah. Yeah.
No,
When
he-
I don't think
Pierce
it.
is really
I don't think it
strong.
helped that he was averaging 2.7 yards per carry.
I remember
Yeah.
I saw a bet that was entirely based on Devin Singletary. Guy won $10,000 off of betting $5 on him. It's ridiculous.
Let's go to Buccaneers Panthers, which we talked about already. Anyone
No,
saying that
I don't
Panthers?
think-
We said
yeah,
Bucks. The Bucks win a division. Browns are in the playoffs. They're playing the Bengals, who are
I'm
eliminated.
going with the Bengals actually. The Browns are resting
Browns
a
are
ton of
resting
their.
their
Yeah, Bengals will
defensive-
win at
yeah.
home.
Yeah.
Browns are locked in. Vikings, Lions.
Lions, especially.
Vikings.
Lions
are
at home.
Lions are sitting their starters.
No, they're playing everyone. St. Brown's playing. Gibbs
they-
is playing.
why are
That
they
because
playing their starters?
Dan Campbell said we'll rest when the season's over.
Bro, what?
Yeah.
You're just
I-
asking for
I
someone to
completely
get injured.
disagree.
You're
Yeah.
just asking for someone to get injured.
I say whatever to that game. Jets
It's-
Patriots the next one on the list. I'm going to say it's going to be a 4-4 tie, 4 safeties, lots of snow.
2-2.
It's going to be so bad. It's going to be a must watch.
Here's just a quick little stat. Jets have scored more safeties in the first quarter than they have touchdowns.
Yeah.
Wow.
0.
What a disaster they are. It's Joe
God.
Beningo. I don't know if you guys know
I
Joe
love-
Beningo.
Yeah. I
Look,
don't know.
if
The
you know Joe.
WFA.
Oh,
Yeah.
the pain.
Yeah,
You should
yeah.
listen to Joe.
Yeah.
He's one of the all-time greats in
I
sports
actually like
talk
this
radio and podcasting. How about?
Indoor. I just like watching the Saints. For some reason I just enjoy
So we're
watching
talking
them.
about Falcons
Yeah.
Saints is the
They're
next
a
Yeah.
game.
boring
I don't know
team.
why, I just like
They're
watching
such a
them.
boring
Yeah.
team.
I feel like that entire division is just so boring.
I'm gonna go with the.
I mean, like I said earlier, that's the AL Central of football. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a good. It's not
It's not a
good
good division. It's a
at
horrible
all.
division.
It's a horrible division.
I'm
Unless
going.
you're a
I'm
fan,
gonna
you
go
don't
with.
sit down and say, yeah, I'm gonna watch the Panthers play.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm gonna
like-
watch the Falcons play. I mean, I really like the way that they look. I mean, no one's gonna say that.
So
unless you're a Falcons fan.
hypothetically,
I mean,
if the Buccaneers lost,
Saints would win.
they go to. What's the Bucks right now?
They're. What do you
check.
mean?
The Bucks are 8-8.
Yeah.
So if
yeah.
the Bucks lose, they go. Yeah, they go to 8-9. Say
Saints
the
win.
say the Falcons win. They're all 8-9. Do the Falcons get in?
The
Falcons
no,
win the three-
Falcons win the division. I think.
If the Falcons
Yeah.
win,
'Cause the Falcons
Yeah.
are still alive. So
Yeah.
if they win and the
Yeah.
Bucks
Yeah.
lose,
True.
so this Falcons Saints game
So
doesn't
big.
matter. But
Yeah.
again, the Bucks are
Bucks,
playing
yeah.
Carolina.
Yeah.
if the
It's all up to
Falcons
chance.
win and Bucks lose, which I think is very very unlikely, Falcons win. Falcons win the division.
I think Carolina has more of a shot to beat the Bucks than the Falcons do the Saints. I think the Falcons are shot.
I agree. You saw them.
Fire Arthur
Saw them.
Smith and draft a new quarterback.
I mean, you saw them get.
That coach has to go.
You get
That
completely.
team's
I
collapsed.
mean, what are we doing? Starting Tyler Algier over your what number 8 overall pick running back,
Johnny
Bijan Robinson.
Instead of developing Kyle Pitts, Johnny
yeah, what are we
Smith
doing?
time.
What are we doing
Yeah.
having Kyle Pitts blocking for
Yeah.
Jonnu Smith on a touchdown?
Hey, that's a good tight end room.
It is, but you drafted a tight end at number
Yeah.
6 overall for a reason. You're not going to use him. I could go on for an
Titans are
entire hour.
disparate.
I go for an entire hour just how just funk that organization is.
Create a podcast and go on for an
Yeah.
hour. You guys should. You guys do a great
Yeah.
job. Jaguars and Titans. I'm going with the Titans. I think this is the game
Jeez.
where just things are
That-
gonna. It's not gonna go according to script this weekend. I think it's one of these games that stands out to me that it's not gonna go according to script. The game is
I-
in Tennessee.
Question is, who's playing, Tannehill or Levis?
Yeah, Tannehill looked awful last week.
I mean,
I mean,
Tannehill is just
yeah.
flat out
Yeah.
awful,
Just like
So-
awful for even his standards. Like,
which isn't even that
Yeah,
high.
yeah,
It's not even that high.
yeah,
The Jaguars have just flirted with danger all year.
yeah. But I still think they're just a better team, even on the road. Even
Better team
like,
doesn't always
Yeah,
win.
true.
I mean,
But
look
I-
at week
I
1.
mean, I'm still going with the Jaguars.
Seahawks, Cardinals.
Doesn't
It's
matter.
actually not even that bad of a game, especially the way the
I'll go with
Cardinals
the
played
Cardinals
last
after
week.
beating the
Yes,
Eagles.
I
I
agree.
mean,
I agree.
They're like one of the.
Putting up
That
35
might sound
points.
stupid, but they're one of the best 4-12 teams. Like I
It's
think
not,
you see
it's not.
because they've been very competitive. They beat Dallas.
I mean, they're better than the Chargers.
beat
They're
the
5-11.
Eagles.
like I said, beating the Cardinals in for every NFC East team.
Okay, pal.
Bears Packers. I'm watching that for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Watching that entire thing.
I'm just gonna say
Yeah.
this right now. If you're the Bears, trade the number 1 overall pick. You keep
us.
Do
Fields.
they take Marvin Harrison? You think they would do that?
No.
And just take
The
Well,
only-
the
let's
one pick?
we'll
Yeah.
all that stuff we'll save
Yeah.
for all these. It's all great stuff, but we'll save that when we get into the offseason. The Bears are one of the most fascinating teams of the offseason.
I like the Bears.
I
like
think
the
the
They've
Bears.
they've had a really good season. I
I
mean,
thi-
in
I
terms
think
of
the Bears
Fields
making
is
a lot of
when
progress.
Fields has been on the field, he's been great. I mean, he's
but outside the first 3 weeks, he has performed pretty
Yeah.
good.
They got a chance in that game, but I think the Packers.
although
are
the
gonna get it
Packers
done
are very,
at
very
Lambeau.
I will say this to you: the Packers are a very, very dangerous team. I could see them going into Detroit and beating them in the play.
I
the
mean,
first
but
round
then
of the
again,
playoffs.
Chicago
Yeah.
almost did beat the Browns. So
Yeah, that
Well,
was
this
just kind
is
of a
a-
messy.
this
That
is
was
a
just kind of a
tricky
messy
game.
game.
this is
though.
gonna be a good
I
game to
think
watch.
for
Yeah,
Green
that's
Bay.
why.
I think something that we also got to acknowledge is that Green Bay has
No
negative
defense?
run defense. It's just not. It's just
Yeah.
non-existent.
I
like-
mean, look what the Giants did to them.
Exactly.
They're a much worse team than the Bears.
I think a caution for Green Bay, even though last year they had a different quarterback with Aaron Rodgers. You have Jordan Love now. The Packers last year were in the same scenario last week of the season. It was Sunday Night Football, and they're playing the Lions in a division rival. Everybody plays a
Giving
team
me
in a division.
PTSD.
That was the
Week
start. That's the
18.
start of the Lions dynasty.
That was so funny. The Lions were already mathematically eliminated. All the Packers would do was win. You know what the Lions do? They come into
That's
Lambeau
hilarious.
and just beat them.
That was the start of the Lions.
But I think
success.
because of that, the Packers will be on guard, and that'll be just a little bit extra for
Yeah.
them. So I think they get it done.
Chargers.
Chiefs and
Chiefs
Chargers.
gonna blow them out.
I mean, not even worth really talking about. Broncos, Raiders. We'll
Not
skip
much talking
that.
about.
Yeah.
Eagles, Giants.
Go Eagles, please. Go Eagles,
going
please,
to-
please, please.
Hey,
I'm
Go
going with
Eagles,
the-
Eagles,
I'm
go
going with the
Eagles.
Giants.
Go
Me
Eagles.
too.
I'm going
Go
with the
Eagles.
Giants.
Go Eagles, please.
I mean, the Eagles, until they show me otherwise, that they can stop even poor, like average to poor offenses. The
Fly,
Giants,
Eagles, fly.
especially at home, I'm going with the Giants.
Fly, Eagles, fly. I want that top 5 pick.
They ain't flying on Sunday. I think the Giants are going to win.
Yeah.
The Giants could suck incorrectly and win.
Oh, that would be such a Giants thing to do.
Yeah.
Just mess up the tank completely.
It's like Packers round two.
But then again though, if the Cardinals and if both the Cardinals and the Pats win, it's a moot point that doesn't matter, especially if the Giants win.
All right, so we got one more minute in the segment. We got Rams, Niners. Niners have locked up the 1 seed. Rams are in the
Darnold's starting.
playoffs.
Darnold starting, and the Rams back
Let's get
starting.
some Sam Darnold
Yeah.
action. In
I'll
there.
go with the Niners at home.
Yeah.
Well,
Cowboys,
they're
Cowboys,
sitting
we said
everyone.
are going to win against Washington, who's terrible. Ron Rivera, that's
Fire that
enough
man.
there. And then Bills, Dolphins. We talked about. Wrap it up. Any final comments on Bills, Dolphins?
Nope.
No. Question is, how many picks is Allen gonna throw?
Yeah.
That's really the only question.
I give it.
Yeah.
I give the line like 2.5.
It's 3. It's
Hey,
minus
every
3.
time Tua, every
it's,
time,
it's minus 3 Bills.
every time Tua is able to get those, like throw like a 60-yard touchdown, even like
looks
that's it.
underthrown.
Either that or they win. Like even like he could throw. He never throws a 60-yard pass and they lose. Like he either is completely dominated or he like just throws a long.
I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys are going to get the reference. We're going to conclude with this. The Dolphins will win if Snowflake is there. Do you know who Snowflake is?
No.
Have you seen Ace Ventura: Pet Detective?
What is that?
I knew it'd be.
I've heard.
Go
I've heard
see
of
the
it, but-
movie.
I know
The
exactly.
Miami Dolphins are heavily
Oh,
involved.
oh
in
wait,
the
I
movie.
feel is it the like the. I think
Snowflake
I kind of know
was
what
the
you're talking
dolphin.
about. Yeah.
He was kid. He was, I guess you call it, kidnapped.
Yeah.
Free Willy.
So go see Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. It's. This is gonna sound silly, but it's my favorite movie ever. It's one of the most
Goodness.
ridiculous movies you ever watch, but it's hilarious. So Snowflake's gonna be in the building, and again, Miami Dolphins. I got them winning the division. So we're gonna wrap it up here. That's it for our NFL talk today. We are now going to talk about the National Basketball Association, particularly the New York Knicks, who were playing well, made a big trade. So we'll be back in a moment with some Knicks talk. Don't go away.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the National Basketball Association talk. We got the Knicks making a trade, so I wake up in the morning. You know, my brother wakes me up. I'm not supposed to wake up. I don't really wake up on breaks. I wake up usually late. You know, my brother wakes me up. He says R.J. Barrett is traded from the Knicks. I think this is a joke, so I go check my phone, and I'm just like half asleep, and I see that the Knicks traded R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly for OG Anunoby. What do you guys think about the trade? Well, don't forget the Detroit second-round pick, which is practically a late first-round pick.
Hey, I like it. I mean, you see, Quickly, he was a sixth man the whole time. He's an offensive spark off the bench, but I think Anunoby brings exactly what they need to this team. Like defense, he's able to guard the other team's best player, and like he could flex over. You saw when they played the Timberwolves, he was able to guard Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. So I think I like that move. I know it's tough to get up Barrett, who's kind of a homegrown player, your third overall selection, but I liked it because like that's exactly what they needed for this team to go deep into the East.
I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna be as nice as possible, but I'm gonna say this one thing. In this trade, R.J. Barrett was to make the salary work, so that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I mean that contract is gonna go down forever as being one. That was not a
to
good
be honest,
contract.
It was bad.
That was bad.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But the contract was to last like he's 27, so it's not like it's lasting like.
And
It's
he's
not
never
like
gonna be. He's never gonna be. He's never gonna be the third overall selection they drafted him to be. He's never gonna be a superstar in the league. He's just gonna be that good, consistent player that can bring. He can bring like that offensive commander that another the Raptors will use. But I mean, he's never gonna be like what they drafted him to be. So I don't really dislike the move.
For the Raptors and that pick and that pickup for them, at least RJ is not gonna like get old as the contract goes on. At least not like we sign him when he's 35 to another extension. So at least it's not that bad of a contract when you look at the age. It's not like he'll regress.
Yeah, he won't. That's the only good part about the contract.
The only good part is that you're end the contract. He's 27 years old or 28. It's like, hey, I mean, probably his prime years, if he even has any prime years. But what do you think from?
Let me say this. I honestly think his time as a Knick was kind of
close.
doomed.
It was coming to the close.
I think it was
ever since that contract was. I mean, really, ever since I know the contract is keeping him in New York.
Our
but
GM was in the game for the Magic game, and when RJ Barrett missed a floater, and he just put his hand on his head and just palmed his head. I mean, changes had to be made.
I think he was kind of in a way doomed from the start because
that contract just.
No, I know you guys remember this is the Knicks wanted Zion in that draft, and they had to settle for R.J. Barrett, and so it kind of was a weird start.
Well, that
it does happen, but I mean,
it happens.
You miss on picks, but he's not a bad player by any means.
He's not.
He's just not a third overall draft pick. Like he's not going to provide that value that Zion provides, but he will be a solid NBA player for the rest of that contract.
Yeah,
he's just not worth the money.
And you know what? I don't think he was on the right team either. Yeah.
His
wasn't a
skill
good
set
fit.
didn't- That's why Anunoby is such a good pickup for this
and
team.
it's just he never really developed like the 3-point shot. It's like it's hard to be respected on the 3-point. It's hard to be respected as a scorer if the defender can just sag off you. There was one year, I think it was the bubble year, where not the bubble year, like the year before that. The COVID year, kind of, where Randall had like that was like his team, kind of. Right. It was Alec Burks, Alfred Payton. But they needed a 3-point shot shooting somewhere, and it was from R.J. Barrett. He shot like 40% from 3. Still, as it came down in the playoffs, no one respected him because it was like it was R.J. Barrett. But I mean, it just he never got respected from that 3-point shot. And you automatically bring somebody who's gonna space the floor, who just people close out to, and it was like the greatest thing ever. I saw somebody have a hard closeout to my wing shooter. I was in a different type of timing, but I hate to see Quickly go.
It's tough, but I mean he's never gonna be a key part of the team. Like he's that offensive spark off the bench. That's all he is.
But are you gonna pay 2-point guards Brunson money? Like that's
no.
When it comes down to the roster construction, and the coach will never play Brunson or Quickly together, which the stats do say on and off numbers do say that it favors Quickly and Brunson being on the court. But again, I think it comes back to they beat up on the Cavs. I don't think they want that to happen to themselves with the 2 guards. I feel like that kind of was it.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm never gonna play Brunson Quigley together. We're definitely not gonna do that in the playoffs just because we beat up on a team with Garland and Mitchell, those 2 guards, and I feel like that kind of settled the deal.
Speaking of Mitchell, I mean, you want to get into
speaking of
this?
Mitchell,
Yeah. I mean, I think that Anunoby move was only I like it, but I think it's only good if they acquire someone like Mitchell or even Devin Booker, who still has 3 years of team control. But I would love to see they would both be a perfect fit on this team because you get rid of a player like Barrett, and you could fill in with Anunoby, but you want to get a superstar to bring this team over the top of the East. So I think there's a lot of the Knicks have 4 first-round picks in this draft.
But again,
so I think if they get maybe put together a package, Grimes and a couple a couple picks for like Mitchell.
You're banking on doing this season where Donovan Mitchell is on the last year of his deal expiring contract. You're banking on doing that this season.
I think that's their move to do it now. I think it's their time to do it now.
Let me ask you both. I'll start with you, Ryan. Yeah. Which team do you think won this trade?
The Anunoby trade?
Yeah.
I think the Knicks won it. I think the Knicks.
Knicks?
Like I think the Knicks that's exactly what they needed. A player that could cover like I said before, Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns. Like he's a very talented defensive player, and if you look up and down this roster, there's not a lot of guys that could play defense the way he can.
Jack?
I won that trade. I get to watch Quickly play on the Raptors. I get to watch his own team. And, I mean, Barrett's were. But I think I won the trade. I get to go turn on League Pass and watch Quickly have his own team. Amazing. Not like Scotty Barnes is no slouch. He's great. Pascal Siakam, but he's been gone.
Yeah.
I think I won the trade because I get to watch him have his own team.
You heard it from the man himself. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think the Knicks. I agree with Ryan.
Yeah.
And you, both of you. I think the Knicks won this.
Yeah, and I think.
There you go.
I think if you, I know some people are reluctant to see him go, but he's a top. In my opinion, when he's got his head on straight, he's a top 15 player in the league. Julius Randle.
Wow.
Would you trade Julius Randle in a pick for Donovan Mitchell?
No. Julius Randle a pick?
Yeah. Or no, like picks, like multiple picks.
Multiple
yeah.
picks.
Depends how good the picks are.
Yeah. If it depends, not first round picks. I'm saying I know they do have four first. If they're gonna trade Grimes, they're probably gonna have to get rid of first round pick.
What's the point of giving the Cavs another big?
Because I don't think they would say no to Randall.
No.
I mean, I think that
not a lot of teams would.
Yeah.
But I think they would say no if they trust in Evan Mobley's development, if they trust in Jared Allen's development.
I don't know if Jared Allen. He's been in the league for. I don't know if he can necessarily. His development might be near the end.
Randall has established himself as a player that could be the second or maybe even first best player on a team. He's a pretty good leader.
I mean, he can't be. He will always on most teams that he's on. He'll always be the most talented player. I'm not saying every, but he's never gonna be like that leader of a team. He's gonna always have to play second fiddle to someone like if you put him on the Cavs right now and just kept Mitchell there, he would play second fiddle to Mitchell, even though he might be a more talented scorer.
If you're the Cavs, though, you would rather have Julius Randle, who's established already, than trust in Evan Mobley, hoping he'll develop later.
Or Jared
on.
Allen.
Yeah, you want now. You're not worrying about later on.
But if you trade Mitchell, do you want now? I mean, you're
if you trade Mitchell and if
Allen, Mobley and Garland, you're on the same track with their development.
Yes.
You're on the same track. So why not? Why are you going? Randall is not going to develop anymore. Not saying he developed. It's developing inside his game. Not going to develop like he's going to get tremendously better. So you're on this kind of same age track with Mobley and Garland.
That's
I
true.
just don't feel like
it's a good point.
But
I feel like I would love to have Booker on this team. I know he's still under control
that's the
for 3 years, but I think I would give up. You think they would take Randall? They would definitely take Randall and picks.
That's the ultimate secret Leon Rose move is against Evan Booker this offseason. I think it's the ultimate.
But I don't think it even has to be the offseason. I think it could be now.
I don't think now.
I'm not saying it will happen, but I think it.
What do you think would have to be given up?
I would say Randall, Grimes, and a pick. Not a first round pick.
Not a first round
A pick.
No, I think I think more picks for more
just
first.
all pick. Okay,
a
more
lot of
first.
first.
They have 4 firsts.
They have a ton of
four
first round.
Yeah,
four
you're
firsts
going to
this
have
year.
to give the
They're not
Suns
gonna. I mean, you don't have. You're not
going to
use. You're not going to draft four players in the first round of this draft. They're definitely trading those picks. And whether you're going to trade them for Mitchell or Booker, that's what.
And that's pretty
what it
much why
comes
they
down to.
got those picks
Yeah.
too. You know,
Yeah.
good trade pieces. Yeah, I think that's not too crazy of a thing
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I'll tell
What
you.
about right now for the like? I don't think that they can go out and get. I don't think they'll go out and get a superstar trade right now. I think they'll just try to upgrade inside the kind of bench depth because they need scoring right now. I've seen myself, Randall and 4 other players.
Yeah, they need
are-
scoring right now. That's why they're gonna. I mean, they didn't get Anunoby to be a scorer. They got
Wow.
him to play defense.
Th-
They
they're
got
gonna-
him to be a two-way player.
Right.
They're gonna use that Anunoby move to get a scorer like Mitchell. Which is why I know. That's why I'm so like hardcore about that because they have those picks and they're not just gonna leave them to draft four guys in the first round. I don't think anyone's ever done that. They're definitely gonna use that. Leon Rose has that up his sleeve. He's definitely gonna make a move.
I don't think. I think they're. I cannot wait for.
I would love
for you,
it.
for you to look at when the Knicks trade a 2nd-round pick and Fournier. Or
I don't
first-
think
or
I don't
one
think anyone's
fir-
taking
Or
Fournier.
one
No.
first and Fournier for.
I think you
Malcolm
try.
Brogdon. I can't wait till you see that notification where the
Oh,
Knicks
boy.
trade 1 first-round pick and M Fournier for Malcolm Brogdon.
Hey,
And that's
hey,
not even
I
a
would.
bad thing.
I wouldn't even say no. I mean, it's not the magnitude of Mitchell or Booker, but I wouldn't. That wouldn't be a
He
bad
brings
move.
everything
No.
you need
Yeah.
off the bench. He knows what he does. He's a veteran.
But I think
he's proven.
more than a bench, you need someone that could really like score with like tandem. Like imagine you have this backcourt, Brunson, Mitchell, and then you fill in Mitchell Robinson, and then you have like Grimes and DiVincenzo and guys like that coming off the bench.
It's a playoff team.
And Anunoby.
My-
It's a playoff. That's a deep playoff team, not
My-
just a playoff
my-
team.
My biggest question is, do we need another elite player? Because I think
And Josh Hart.
because we have
Josh.
2 All-NBA
Yeah.
guys. We have 2 potential All-NBA
Oh,
guys.
and if
What-
you could keep Randall somehow and get Mitchell, or I mean, I don't think you'd be able to get Booker and keep Randall. I don't think that's
No.
just gonna be possible.
It's not.
But I think if you can like kind of convince the Cavs enough, I think you could get Mitchell without giving up Randall and like sacrifice those picks, and that would be a incredible roster if they had.
My thing is that do you really need a superstar that bad this season, or do you need it next season?
I think they want to
because
win now.
I know, but you have 2 All-NBA players. One guy in OG Anunoby who can guard the best player on another team, like a Tatum, like a Banchero,
like an Edwards, like a Karl
Fred
Anthony Towns,
Wagner,
yeah.
like an Edwards. So you have that player, and you have 2 All-NBA players. You have a big man down low in Hardenstein who shot at him 5 and 4,
Yep.
5, like a lot of blocks these last like 2-3 games.
Yeah.
And then
And you have
when
Robinson,
Mitch come back,
yeah.
but Mitch is for this season. I actually think they have the perfect team, but I think they just need another bench scorer. And I think I don't know. Again, Milwaukee and Boston is just they're so good, but it's like
Yeah. But I think if you could have the chance, like I think not a lot of, I mean, obviously not a lot of teams have that draft capital. Like if you have the chance to make a move for Mitchell, like I mean, they already missed on him once. Why not go get him this time? Especially when you have a roster like this where you could actually prime to make a deep playoff run.
It's not even so much a
You don't want to like
superstar
wait till the
player.
off season. You never know who comes in. You never know what could change in that time. You kind of want to make that move now when you're able to like get on that level with Milwaukee and Boston.
It's not so much a superstar player. I think they just
A
need
scorer,
someone who
yeah.
can score
Yeah.
very
no, but
well.
like if like the picks they have, they could acquire elite scorer.
They definitely
Yeah.
can. I mean,
Yeah.
besides Booker, who else? Booker, Mitchell.
I mean,
who
no one
else
else is really. I mean,
realistically.
pipe
when
dream,
they-
yeah,
when
pipe
they-
dreams for
when they
Giannis,
trade for
but
Terry Rozier, you see that notification for Terry Rozier. I hope you're up for that.
yeah. I heard
It's a Terry
Rozier.
Rozier notification.
I heard some.
Gary Terry.
I heard some people saying like the pipe dream for Giannis might be real,
Jesus.
but I mean, like let's be honest here. I mean, I would love that, but that's not gonna happen, and we need someone a little bit more in our range
It's
of
a little bit.
yeah.
little bit
And
fun.
I really think Mitchell's the perfect player for this.
See, I don't know overpaying for an expiring contract, and I don't understand.
Yeah,
I
but
don't-
you also just got rid of a contract in Barrett. Who? Oh wait, no. Do they have to? They might have to pay some. Do they have to pay some
I
of
don't
that?
think so.
No. If they don't have to pay any of that Barrett contract, they just got rid of that, which was, I mean, just not a good
We got
contract
to pay
overall.
Anunoby.
Yeah, they're gonna have to pay Anunoby. But he's not gonna be he's gonna be a relatively mid-priced guy.
I
He's
don't
not-
know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think he's gonna. I mean, he might demand a lot,
If he
but
demands something because he's a
Yeah, but-
versatile wing who can shoot the 3-ball, he can get
Yeah.
himself a lot of
hey,
money.
two
this
ways a
offseason.
two-way guard.
He's gonna-
But if you go make that move now for Mitchell, then and you win a championship, like if you win a championship or make a deep playoff run, then you could maybe bargain with Anunoby a little bit more to stay like for a lower price, so you could afford to keep Mitchell and the same team back together.
Also, agent is Leon Rose's, I think, brother.
Yeah,
That's
that's another factor.
Well, I'm thinking, I mean, I don't know as much as like you. I feel like they have the perfect team right now. They're just missing one bench scorer. I don't think
a bench scorer is going to get them on the same level with Milwaukee and Boston. I think they need someone. I mean, I think it would make them better, but not on that level. Like, I think every NBA's team obviously is to win a championship, and that move could possibly get them over the top because you've already seen what these teams are capable of. Milwaukee's a monster, Boston's a monster, and the Knicks are just on the outside looking in right now. But
I think Brunson's unguardable. I think you put Brunson in a series, I think he's unguardable. You can't.
Yeah, I'm not.
You can't
it's
go
not.
Pick and roll with it. I know you're looking at me, Drew Holiday, but I just feel like you can't. His pull-up three-point shooting has improved. You can't go under any screens. You can't guard him in the pick and roll anymore because obviously getting the paint gives you a lot of moves. So I just feel like you have a guy like that who's just unguardable, like one of those. I think Brunson's a superstar.
He is. He developed. They paid him. They didn't pay him. They didn't pay him like a superstar. That was a great contract for the Knicks. They didn't pay him like a superstar. Now he is one, and they're able to afford him with that, which is another reason to go out there and get a superstar that's already been Brunson's now established himself in the league, but someone like Mitchell has been doing it year after year to add to this incredible roster.
What about like a tier 3, tier 4 type of player like C.J. McCollum?
Yeah, he said you heard
right?
He said Brogdon. He said
Bradley
Terry
Beal.
Rozier.
He's a great scorer, right?
Yeah.
That's his thing. It's a little bit much.
I feel like who would you rather have, Beal or Mitchell?
Oh, Mitchell.
Yeah,
but I'm saying
like they're kind of on, like he's only a little bit less expensive. Like if you're gonna go and get that guy, then why not just get the better one for a little bit more?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I like your thinking though.
Yeah, that's gonna be all it. I cannot wait for you guys to see the Malcolm Brogdon notification coming up in your Woj ESPN or whatever you get your notifications on.
We will see.
I cannot wait.
We'll see.
But that's gonna do it. We got some college football up next.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah, we're just gonna go right into.
And welcome back, everyone, to In the Vault. So our last segment today, we're going to talk about college football. The college football playoff semifinals took place on New Year's Day a couple days ago. So we're going to recap those two games. We're going to look ahead to the championship game, which is Monday night, 7:30, Michigan Wolverines and the Washington Huskies. And we got a few other topics for college football as well. So the semifinals. Let's start Texas, Washington. I think we'll save the best for last or second, however you want to put that. Texas, Washington. Your thoughts on that game? Both games were close. One game went to overtime. They both went down to the wire. Conlon, what'd you take from that matchup in the second game on Monday night?
I was really impressed with the way Washington got started out. You hit that, 58-yard throw, where I think it was like 48 yards. But the one thing that really stood out to me about this game was Texas's lack of clock management towards the end of the game. I think they really could have had a better chance to win this game if they did a better job. They did a great job game planning, but the clock management really needed a lot of work.
I mean, that was a great game all around. I mean, absolute shootout. Can't really say anything negative about that, but there were a bit questionable calls by Texas play calling, but there also were some questionable calls by the ref. So
I feel like that's just something we need to be used to at this point.
Yeah.
Let's just build into every single game that there's going to be bad officiating in every sport. It just is what it is. It's not improved, but don't expect it to improve. So it's just part of it.
Yeah, hockey's not bad.
Hockey's the only good one.
We'll say now. I won't say they're good, but they're the best out of the 4 major.
All right. Well, let's not cross sports. Stick to college football. You got any comments on that game?
I mean, it was a fun game to watch. I expected Washington to win this game, and it was just a lot of fun to watch Michael Penix do his thing, and I'm excited to see this team in the final. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
One of my good friends is a University of Texas fan, actually works at the University of Texas, and he had a lot of criticism for Steve Sarkisian and his coaching, as you guys were talking about. He knows the team really well. He knows it a lot better than I have. But throughout that game, we were texting with a couple of the buddies, and he was highly critical of the play calling and just overall the way that Sarkisian handles in-game coaching.
There's a lot to improve on there.
So let's go to Michigan, Alabama. This was a very good game, the Texas-Washington game, but the premier game, Michigan, Alabama, I mean, to me, like the better football game. Old school, defensive battle, these two tough teams.
Basically
at the Rose Bowl.
Big Ten matchup.
Elite coaches. So how did Michigan, in this fight, they were behind most of the game. Jacob, how did Michigan come out on top in that semifinal?
They're just a better team. I mean, it was bound to happen at some point, I think.
I really think they kind of dominated the game if you looked at it. Like Milroe could – I mean, he could barely throw – like, they were getting so much pressure on him at that one point. I thought he was actually going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Like, he couldn't even get out of his own way at that point.
That defense was flying around everywhere on all levels, all 3 levels. I mean, linebackers, linemen.
Well, they were dominating the game. How were they down most of the game?
Offensively.
And also special teams. For special teams, they had so many miscues on special teams, like low snaps and their kicker missing extra points. Like if he didn't miss that extra point, you saw that snap. I actually wanted Michigan to come back and tie that game and go to overtime, because if that didn't happen, I would have had that kid. Like if they lost by 1, that long snapper would have had to live with that for the rest of his life. That he made that ruin that game. And
the
McLaughlin
punt return to drop the ball.
Oh yeah.
It was stuff like
I put my head in my hands when I saw that.
I was rooting for Michigan. I can't stand Alabama, as we talked about on a previous show.
Michigan.
But
when
that kid, regardless of what team you're on, when that kid, the punt returner, dropped that ball, I'm like, oh my god, like
I felt even at the beginning. It's relatively at the beginning of the game, but it was still. No,
I'm talking about the end. The
fourth
quarter when he dropped it, and then
they recovered on the goal.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine losing like that
and having to live
and
with that?
And thank God for that kid, regardless of what team you're on. Like, just
I feel
I'm happy for him that didn't cost them that game.
Because that's all what people would have remembered about him for the rest of his life.
How about the coaching matchup? Harbaugh versus Saban. Who's the better football coach? I think it's a great debate.
It's a very good debate.
I got Harbaugh, but Jacob.
I agree with you. I have Harbaugh too.
It's hard. This is a hard decision to make.
It really is.
I mean, you look at Harbaugh and you look at the allegations there.
But this,
Saban
ignoring.
This stuff goes on in college.
Everywhere.
Let's not get into it.
Free
Harbaugh. I'm sure Alabama's done stuff. Very
of course.
100%.
Yeah.
Nick Saban could act like he's holier than thou, but let's pipe down.
I mean, let's look at it. I mean, look who won this game. Harbaugh won this game.
Yeah. No, Harbaugh coached much better.
And he outcoached Nick Saban. Yeah. It's that simple. So, yeah, I'm going to have to say Harbaugh.
Saban has 7 national titles. Harbaugh has 0. However, and maybe
Harbaugh had more.
We're saying who's the best football coach, best college football coach?
Oh, Saban easily.
But football coach, Jim Harbaugh took the 49ers to the Super Bowl.
Harbaugh's done it at the other level.
Saban failed big time with the Miami Dolphins. So you get head-to-head here in the Rose Bowl. Look, I know an overtime game, but you guys said Michigan dominated that game. All right, Michigan's the better team. They came out on top. Harbaugh outcoached Saban. I give Harbaugh I'll say slight edge, but I give him the edge. So then let's stick with this game and talk about the overtime. And let's talk about the college football overtime
love
rules.
it.
I love it. I
hate
agree.
it.
I agree. I love it. No, it's
Perfect.
Did you
all
say
people,
you love it too?
No.
No, I love it. I
Perfect.
I
Oh.
completely love it. It's all the
Would you rather come
all
down to a coin
yeah.
toss or that?
all the people that don't love it
They
are
have a coin toss.
like
Well,
everyone.
I mean, a coin toss in the NFL, where the coin toss, you basically win
No.
the game.
I'd rather.
They still play real football in the NFL.
Everyone that I've heard is like, oh, it's not real football. It's not real football. But it's just more entertaining.
All
Like,
the
and that's what the game is for.
All the
to be
NFL has to do is take the playoff rule and put it to the regular season.
Yes, that's fine.
And that's it. And then it's great. And you know what? In the NFL, you know what I do? They do a 10-minute period now. Play out the entire 10 minutes. Play like basketball. Play the entire 10 minutes. If it's tied at the end, it's a tie. If it's the playoffs, I don't know if you play another 10-minute period, but play the 10 minutes out.
Do like a field goal competition or something
But
like that.
this you're starting at the defense's 25-yard line. That's not real football.
Uh-huh.
Parmenter, you said you don't like it. Why don't you like it?
I don't like it because I know I'm kind of crossing sports here, but it
Go
kind of
ahead.
it kind of
Runner
feels
on
like the
second
runner in
base,
second base.
Yeah, but
I
I
mean,
like that too.
I don't. I mean, yeah, but they have in the
I
regular
think it's
season.
worse.
But they have.
I've warmed up to that a little bit. I tolerate it. I
but-
don't
but-
like it. I tolerate
No, but the
it.
thing is with the
runner.
runner on second base, they have it in the regular season, not the postseason. And so why can't we just do what college does in the regular season? It's just an absolute shootout until someone fails to score. So it's basically like if someone fails. So say this is regular season, Michigan has a touchdown and Alabama has the ball. They don't make a touchdown. Michigan wins, but they start at the 20-yard line.
25.
It's stupid. I mean, I think they should start maybe at the 50 at most.
And they've changed
At least.
the rules. So now, if that game had gone to a second overtime, if the team scored a touchdown, they're forced to go for 2. Don't mind that. But then the third overtime, and if it goes further than that, the overtime is just a 2-point conversion from the 3-yard line. You can say, oh, that's dramatic, it's exciting, but you're going to decide a college football playoff semifinal game or championship game on 2-point conversions? Come on.
I don't know if
I
I
think
agree with
it's absurd.
the 2-point conversion.
Yeah,
piece
that's
of
the
it.
I like
The 25-yard line I'm
25,
okay
yeah,
with.
Yeah. The 2
But
point,
how
but
is
that's
that
but that's
how
so
is that
far down.
real
Like that's like 4 or
football?
5.
It's not.
What is that?
Both teams are
Yeah,
getting this
yeah.
equal opportunity.
But is it the best way to decide overtime?
No, the best way to do it is just to play it out. Play
Right, so
out
why
10
did they do,
minutes.
so why
You
did they
just
do
proved
it
his
that way?
point.
That's fair.
You just
I
proved
mean,
his point.
yeah, but the question was if we liked it or not. I like it. It's not the best
You like
way.
it in terms of the entertainment
I like
value.
it for the entertainment value. It's not the best way to
Well,
do it.
you know,
Absolutely
I'll
not
be
the best
honest.
way to do it.
Entertainment value, I do like it. But I don't think it's the best way to decide the
But
game.
No, I
practicality,
agree,
it's
I agree
not
with
good.
you. It's not the best way to do
Do you think it's the best way to decide the game?
No, I just like it from the entertainment aspect.
Well, see, you know what? I get that. And see, cross sports, with baseball, I've warmed up to the runner on second. I don't want it in the playoffs. I've warmed up to it in the regular season. I'm going to cross sports again. Hockey, shootout in the regular season. Perfect. Love it.
Perfect.
Because hockey regular season, not really that important. Playoffs, you cannot decide playoff games. You got to play it out. So entertainment's important. Like, I think some people go too far in the direction of the competition and valuing the competition and the integrity of it way too much. Then you get some people go too much with the entertainment. I think you have to find a balance between competition and entertainment. But to me, the college football overtime goes too far in the direction of entertainment.
I mean, I don't disagree with that, but I think I agree with you. I mean, I kind of changed my opinion a little bit. I do like just playing it out for 10 minutes. I think that's probably the best way you go with it. But I mean, from the entertainment aspect, there's no doubt that starting on 25 is better. But it did make me reconsider
Well,
that
I
it's
agree with
starting that the playoff and regular season, like you shouldn't have a college playoff game decided by a 2-point conversion. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah. But that sports debate, I think it's a great debate about the competition aspect and the entertainment aspect. And which one do you value more? To me, you got to find that balance. And you go through each of the sports, and they have all their different elements and issues. Baseball to me is a sport where they've had to
implement something to get life
They've had
back.
to, right.
I mean, it's just battling with the generation. You gotta do something that appeals to the younger generation, kind of gets interest back in
But
the
I don't
game.
even think it's the younger generation. I'm 39, which
yeah.
is not,
Yeah.
which is
I
I,
think-
guess not that. It's not that old, but I'm
Yeah.
not as young as you
No,
guys.
yeah.
Like, the game's got to be more entertaining. And
Yeah.
I love baseball as much as anybody, but it's gotten so stale and boring
And
over
one
the
thi-
years that you need it to
Yeah.
add entertainment value. So I get why the leagues have to do that, because entertainment brings people in. But the integrity of the competition, again, to me, to decide that playoff game on that overtime format, no good.
Yeah.
So let's move on. We were talking about Harbaugh and Saban. Harbaugh just signed a new agent, hired a new agent. All right, I forget his name, but he was Tom Brady's agent. He's an NFL agent. Is he going to the NFL?
Should.
Yes.
He's going.
Yeah.
He should.
I mean, there's going to be a ton of openings this year. I mean, you got the Patriots, you got the Panthers, and those are just two that come off
Chargers.
from mind. Chargers, yeah. Raiders.
Harbaugh
Unless
and the
Pierce.
Raiders
I think
still
Pierce.
Pierce.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I think they should keep Pierce.
Yeah.
But Harbaugh on the Chargers,
To be honest,
You get some coaching on that team.
I could see the Panthers possibly. Yeah.
That team.
in
I don't-
hypothetical
yeah.
situations, though, Justin Herbert is Tom Brady. In hypothetical
It's-
situations.
Really, I mean, you look at
What?
the. You look
I'll
at
tell
that
you later.
Chargers
Wait, what?
team.
I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later.
Their window's
make any
wide open.
sense.
Okay, the defense is there, somewhat.
Mm,
Offense is really there.
No,
All
the
the skill
def-
positions are
No,
there.
the defense on the Chargers is there. They're just not coached well.
Exactly, they're waiting for
Like,
the coach.
They have one of the worst pass defenses in the league.
And who's going to be a defensive-minded coach
Yeah.
in Harbaugh?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect fit.
And you already have the quarterback in place, which is the biggest
you also
part
have the
about
wide
coaching.
receivers
Yeah.
and the running back in place.
Well, I don't know if I mean they do have the running back in place. The wide,
NFL.
yeah.
Mike Williams, Keenan Allen.
I think Keenan Allen's kind of.
Last thing on
Right,
Harbaugh,
towards
is
it.
he more likely to go to the NFL if Michigan wins or loses?
I think he's more likely to go to the NFL if Michigan wins.
I think it goes either way.
But
I think he's more likely, I guess, to go if they win.
I agree with that. I think he's going either way, but more likely if they lose, he might say, you know what, I got to come back and finish the deal and win one.
Yeah.
So then we talked a good amount about Florida State when we were talking about the committee's decision.
Now we look like the bad
yeah,
committee.
that's
Actually, no, because they didn't play any of their starters. They played all their backups, and even Kirby Smart, who I do not like, says the fact that FSU was snubbed and the fact that they had to resort to sitting their starters is the stupidest thing ever. Even Kirby Smart said that.
Florida State didn't even show up. You know what
yeah,
it
but
is?
also
I
agree.
still think they
Georgia-
should have been
no,
selected based
Georgia,
on.
Georgia was in many ways. Georgia was. People were still saying Georgia was the best team in the country.
I
guys
disagree.
went to-
No,
People were saying
no.
that.
Take a look
People
at
were
it.
still
Texas is
saying-
better.
No.
Washington's
Is
better.
Texas better?
Texas is not better.
Texas
than
is
Georgia.
better than Georgia.
I
Texas,
say they're still
Texas is
three.
not better. I think they're two.
I think
to
Washington
three.
and Michigan are
Washington's Michigan's definitely better.
Question is,
Washington's
the
a
question
question
is,
mark.
did Georgia beat Alabama? Because
No.
Texas did.
No,
Texas
but
beat
I
Alabama.
mean, Texas.
That's a problem
Yeah.
with college football. It's who beat this, who beat that. I'm like, no. Just
I
That
still
doesn't mean
stand by
That doesn't
Florida State.
necessarily mean that they're the better team. It
I
just means
stand
that-
by them
that they
based.
had-
Let's get it, Ryan.
Oh no, you could go.
No, I'm going to be stubborn. I stand by them on resume. I don't think Alabama's resume was as good as people said. They lost to Auburn. Auburn gave the game away, but okay, fine. They actually, in reality, they won. I get that, but come on, it's great resume. No. It wasn't that great. Florida State was 13-0, won the ACC. But you know what though? Here's another part of this. I don't have the sympathy for Florida State anymore. They didn't even show up.
Yeah.
They got embarrassed. They got blitzed. And I'm going to tell you what. As that game went on, I was rooting for them to lose 100-3. It was like you're gonna put forth this. Your guys are gonna sit out. The way they handled it, instead of showing up and saying, you know what, we'll show everybody. We're gonna compete against Georgia. They just laid down. So you know what? No sympathy. Absolutely no sympathy. It's pathetic. That coach, that program, that school, I think they should be embarrassed.
if it was really that important to you that you didn't get selected, then you should have went in there and tried to beat
Should've
Georgia.
just like kind of
That's what, they
you
just
should have
laid
tried your
down.
hardest
just
to
like
beat Georgia.
sulked about it.
You
instead
should
of
have,
actually doing
you should have
it.
laid
Yeah.
your whole. You should have laid your whole season on the line
Yeah.
there.
They should have
Everything.
played. They shouldn't instead of resting people. They should have been playing their whole starters as hard as possible.
I
in
think
that
it
game.
revealed the character of their team.
Or more their
and it
coach,
starts
more
with-
their coaching staff.
It starts.
Or
Wait,
they-
it starts
yeah.
with leadership. It starts with the coach.
Yeah.
You know, so I ultimately don't blame
Yeah.
the players.
No,
you blame
yeah.
the coach. Like, you don't go out there and fight. You don't go out there and say, you know what, we're gonna go show the nation how good we are. You just late. It's pathetic.
was really
I had a
embarrassing.
lot of sympathy for them. I have no sympathy for them after that showing
They basically
and
laid
that
down, laid
approach to that game. Last thing with college football, I'm going to wrap up. The bowl season in general. One more game to go. The championship game. To me, a lot of lackluster bowl games. Guys sitting out, not playing. Can't stand that whole thing. Just the bowl season, real quickly. 15 seconds, each of you. Your assessment of this bowl season this year.
It wasn't good. I mean, it's that simple. Look at all these teams that had great seasons and then fall apart in the bowl game because none of their players are playing. One that stood out to me, DJ, how do you say his name? Ugangalele, something like that. He sat out. That team got trashed. I mean, it's just it's not fun. And then the transfer portal, all that, like sitting out now.
How do you just leave your teammates hanging?
Yeah, you.
I mean, I kind of from
you
the
enter the transfer portal now. You don't play.
But do you want a guy like that on your team? I say if I'm.
Wait. I want to bring this up. This kind of has to do with that. I don't
ahead.
want to interrupt, but did you see like during LSU's game when I know Jaden Daniels won the Heisman? He was doing an interview and there were like teammates in the background. I didn't really like that. Like he was just doing an interview on while the game was going on with his uniform and like pants on, like in the background of the bench. Yeah. Like that's kind of ridiculous to me. Like you could just wait till after the game instead of doing it in front of your teammates in the middle of the game, right? You could be theoretically playing. I know because he's a draft prospect, it's a little bit different than whether he's like what you guys were saying before, but I still didn't like it.
You ultimately got to take situations on an individual basis, but overall, with these guys sitting out, again, to me, it's a revelation of character. Yeah. If I'm an NFL GM or NFL coach, right? I'm in an NFL organization. I'm like, I don't care how talented you are. I don't want someone who's going to abandon their teammates and not go play with them and not feel an obligation to play for the team. So I can't stand that. And the bowl season, I think the whole bowl system's broken. I think it is absolutely broken, and they need to – I don't know what it is. We could talk about it another time, but they got to fix the entire bowl system.
What I think they should do to fix the players sitting out is to not do the Heisman after the regular season ends. I think they should wait till bowl season ends to do it.
Make a difference for one guy? I mean, for 4 guys?
It's like really just a race of like 3 guys.
Yeah. I get the thought, but I don't think it's going to make a difference. And yeah, it's a broken system.
You have to out-rule being allowed to sit out. I mean,
I don't even know that you should legislate it. I think it's very unfortunate that this is what it's come to.
It's just like a character, kind of like just something. It's just an individual.
Anyway, it reveals character for the NFL teams. You know, the guys that do choose to play, which I don't think you should be given.
Which will affect
them
in the
future. They're just doing the right thing. Yeah. But these other guys, like some people would argue, you got to take the talent, and I get that. But I say, you know what? No, I don't want someone who's not a good teammate. I don't want someone who's not gonna go to battle and feel an obligation to their team. So let's wrap it up here. Great show today, talking about the NFL, talking NBA with the Knicks. Great college football talk. So we will be back next week. We have a big week on live stream next week. We've got basketball Monday, basketball Tuesday, basketball Thursday, basketball Saturday, and then we have both Viking Sports Today and In the Vault on Tuesday and Thursday. So it's a loaded week. Thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next week on Union Catholic Livestream.